from Continuity, and you're watching the Vintage News. This week we cover this summer's hottest fashion trends and how it's really just a throwback to the 90s. We also cover the re-emergence of Stussy and the history behind the brand. Finally, we cover the roller coaster of the markets the last few weeks, both in the stock and t-shirt market. Make sure you subscribe and watch the full video for more. Summer is here, and boy howdy is it ever hot. This is one of the hottest and driest summers on record. This also has a direct influence on what people are wearing this summer, and this year, that trend is jorts. Jorts are definitely the centerpiece of the summer, with both men and women adopting the trend. While all cuts of jorts are going to be appearing this year, we predict that the most popular is going to be a wide leg trouser or carpenter jort. Baggy cargo shorts will also be included in this trend, with vintage pieces from workwear brands like Carhartt and Dickies that are going to be the most popular. While we predict that shorts are likely to remain above the knee, don't be surprised if you see some more avant-garde people wearing shorts that fall below the knee, like for the Fred Durst era. Think Jenko jeans, but just shorts instead. The other emerging trend this summer is definitely the cropped t-shirt for men. Now, women have been wearing crop tops of all sorts for years, but this time it's the guys' time to shine. The chop, unfortunately, is back in, and while it pains me to see vintage tees being cut up, expect it to happen. Pretty much all trendy men this summer are going to either look like your grandfather while he's vacationing, or Adam Sandler in the movie Airheads. So guys, just remember, once you chop your vintage tees, you can never go back. Moving on, arguably the hottest brand this year is definitely Stussy. It's come a long way from being sold on the sale rack at Zumiez. While the brand itself has done a lot of hard work to become the top choice of clothing enthusiasts, we wanted to cover a little bit of the history behind the brand and why the vintage pieces are so popular and expensive. Sean Stussy originally started the brand in 1979 as a surfboard company. After some success, he created some screen-printed t-shirts in 1982 to help promote the surfboard company at a trade show. It unknowingly spawned this clothing brand Stussy as well. In 1984, the clothing brand officially launched, and Stussy maintained to make something simple that was a little bit different compared to the brash neons and patterns that were very popular at the time. By the late 80s, Stussy had grown popular beyond the surf scene and was worn by pretty much anyone cool you could find at the time. It was around this time that the Stussy International Tribe was spawned. The Stussy tribe are people who are handpicked by Sean Stussy himself, as he sees them as influential in their individual scene. Sean would travel the world, meeting people of all walks of life, and got to know why they were so important in their local communities. These people were then gifted one-of-one varsity jackets that were made by Stussy and marked them as a member of the Stussy International Tribe. These varsity jackets are definitely the vintage grail for any Stussy collector, and one is actually available for auction right now. It is actually Hiroshi Fujiwara's of Fragment Design that is selling at Sotheby's on auction. By 1991, Sean partnered with the then Union owner James Jebbia to open their first flagship store in New York. You might recognize the name James Jebbia, as 3 years later he went on to start the skate shop Supreme. Stussy continued to remain very relevant through the mid-90s, and in 1996, Sean actually sold his ownership stake to his original partner. But the truth is, after 1996, when Sean stepped down, that's when the decline of the brand began. Into the 2000s, the brand began to lose its relevance. And by the early 2000s, it was available at places in malls like PacSun's and Zumiez, which, as we all know, is the death knell for any streetwear company. While it's likely that Stussy made pretty good money while they were selling in mall stores, in the mid-2010s they decided to make an interesting change. They pulled out of those large retailers and decided to rethink the brand. They decided to remarket and go more direct to consumer, as well as put themselves in exclusive boutiques and skate shops throughout the country. By taking the brand out of more doors, it makes it harder to get, which makes it more exclusive and thus a little cooler in the consumer's eyes. Stussy also went through and rethought their product offerings. In the mid-2010s, when you could buy them in the mall, they were really offering basics, just logo tees, sweaters, sweatpants, and some pants. But with the rebrand, Stussy really focused on making high-quality items. You can now get Gore-Tex jackets, deep pile fleeces, and even some suiting in their product offering. They also worked hard to create beautiful advertising campaigns. Things like the BMW M3 campaign, or their work with sand artist Jim Denovan, and as well as all these incredible shots that they've made throughout the past couple years. Now, Stussy has a very clear style, and in the vintage world that means that some of those styles are very iconic and highly sought after. As one of the first brand collaborators, items like the G-Shock Stussy, the Stussy Cherry Dunks, or the Stussy Carhartt pieces are very collectible in the vintage community. Other classics are the Stussy Saxman and Crownman graphics, the monogram prints, which were actually one of the first graphics that Sean created in the 80s, the Nintendo tee, the Stussy PS2 tee, the meat tee, and of course the 8-ball graphic items. Here at From Another, we actually put together a huge collection of vintage Stussy items, and in 2020 released the collection with Grailed, but maybe we should have waited a little longer. These days, Stussy has huge lines on drop days, and you can actually buy fakes and replicas of their items, which usually means that you're doing something right. So it's really cool to see how far Stussy has come. Today's episode is brought to you by From Another. From Another is Alberta's premier spot for buying vintage, sneakers, and streetwear, both in-store and online at FromAnother.ca. If you're looking to expand your wardrobe but don't want to break the bank, From Another has an extensive collection of new and used items that you can purchase. From Another also ships worldwide and express, so if you're impatient like me, you can get your order right away. Use the code VintageNews at checkout for free shipping. That's code VintageNews for free shipping at FromAnother.ca. Now back to the show. Finally, we have a few market updates we wanted to touch on with everyone. In the financial markets, Value Village and Savers has finally gone public, which means you can now own shares of the place that you go to every single day. If we're not mistaken, this is the first thrift store to go for an initial public offering, so it'll be an interesting case to follow. At the beginning, SVV was asking $18 per share at their initial public offering, but the price shot up to $23 a share on that first day and has sort of wavered around that price since. Between all their brands, SVV has 317 stores and made $1.4 billion last year, or $84 million in profit, which is a little bit better than your average vintage reseller. And in t-shirt market news, a landmark sale was made last week on the People's Flea. This Magneto all-over print tee sold for $7,500, which is the highest we've seen on a live public auction. Previously, the highest was $6.3 thousand for the Fuji's Wrap tee, or the incredible $6,000 Genie tee that you can see here. Now, one of the original Grateful Dead pieces did sell on Sotheby's auction for $18,000, but that's boring and for lame old dudes. The Magneto tee sold on the Exchange app, which is one that you might not be familiar with, and personally I find a little confusing and hard to use. Now, there were some rumors that the sale wasn't legitimate. People did point that a sealed version of the same shirt sold for $4.5 thousand just a few weeks earlier. But in talking to some of our inside sources, we did confirm that the sale did happen for $7,500. So a new record has been made. And what do you guys think? Would you spend $7,500 for a single tee? Special shout out today to the All Goods Market, happening on July 29th in West Allis, Wisconsin. With over 60 vendors, food trucks, sneakers, and tees, you're not going to want to miss it. That's all for this episode of the Vintage News. We thank you for watching, and make sure to reach out to me, Continuity, if you have any vintage news you want to see on the next episode. Thanks for watching and have a great day.